Hello, family, Grand Rising. Uh, I'm seeing whether I can, catch up with Jesse Tree here. So I told you, just trying to see if I can catch him up. We are encountering some technical issues here, unfortunately, but I hope I can catch him up for some live here. Because we wanted to talk about many good things. Because I'm sending him an invitation to join me here. Yes, he is here. He is here. Yes, he is with me. Yes, here Jesse is. So we want to talk about several good things. Greetings, brother. Namaste.
Greetings, brother. 1 second. Let me get my earphones. I
Yes,
can't hear you.
yes, please.
Forgot about this phone. The audio is messed up on
Yeah, I brought some earphones as well.
it. There we go. Now I can
Yes,
hear
brother. Yeah, it's an incredible day to start, brother. I'm in the forest.
you.
I'm in the
Beautiful.
forest. It's sun. Yes, brother. It is sunrise time here, and know, I'm in between the flora and fauna here in the mountains. Sitting on the mountain here, natural grounding going on, and this is just in the middle of the forest here. These are the cactus.
Oh,
Can't
I
ask
didn't
for
know.
more.
I didn't
These are
know.
the Aravali. These are the Aravali ranges, brother. Aravali ranges in Mount Abu. This is the place where I stay. So, thanks for joining me, brother. It's been fantastic.
My absolute pleasure.
Always.
Great to see you, Ravi. Blessings.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaste. Just want to introduce Jesse Tree to whomsoever are watching us here. Jesse Tree is a permaculturist, a yogi, a Buddhist, a drummer. He doesn't need any introduction in the Prana Sangha, actually. He's one of the celebrated speakers, and he's the one whom I always look to. Is one of my virtual teachers. So it's a massive pleasure to have him with me here because I have learned a lot from you, brother. Really, I have learned a lot from you. I always see you always, motivating the Prana Sangha and really, grateful for the divine timing, to come in contact with you. So, how's everything going on, brother? I have seen you completing 1 year of this 23-hour dry fast.
You're
How
very
are you?
kind, Ravi. Thank you for the nice introduction. I'm doing well, thank you. Yes. Today, it's not quite a year. In about 2 weeks, it'll be a year. Yeah.
Fantastic. This is really a massive accomplishment in itself. So, how are you feeling, and what are the changes you saw in this year?
Oh, it's been very interesting. This last year was full of challenges, full of high points and
Mhm.
challenges, and really see it as a process of going deeper with my relationship with myself, you know, uh, and my truth and my family, uh, and a lot of things in the last year. For many years, I worked with cannabis as a teacher,
Mhm.
as a plant medicine, and that fell away when I started the 23-hour a day dry fast. And it's something I've known all along, is that the plant teachers are our map, not the territory. Our body, produces all of this on its own, you know.
Yes.
So, kind of working with uh, getting into a deeper state of authenticity with myself, you know, acknowledging the benefits and the blessings that the plant teachers gave me, but going in deeper and realizing the secrets are in the secretions, and that of our own mind. We have our own endogenous cannabinoids, our own endogenous DMT, these kinds of things that people, take exogenously for spirit medicine has a benefit, but it's nothing like the benefit that you already are naturally. So
Yes.
there's been things like that. My physical fitness is good. I feel really energetic and well. It's been, challenging in other respects in that, you wanted to talk, I think, a little bit about ancestral healing and stuff. And
Yes.
I've been working with uh, helping my son heal, who has neurological diseases, and it's all given me greater opportunity to look more deeply at myself and
Fantastic.
how when we heal ourselves, we heal our lineage and our ancestry. So yeah,
Wonderful.
so that's a short part of a short glimpse of what the year has been, but it's been
Wonderful.
I look
Wonderful, brother.
forward to releasing food more, to moving more deeply into all of this spiritual work, and healing the world by healing ourselves. So
How tough was it in terms of like, were you encountering any unaddressed traumas in this 1 year? Because it happens that sometimes the deep memories inside the cells, of course, it's been 12 years for your journey as far as I know you. So, this is a new journey which you have embarked upon, this 1 year. In this 1 year, like 23 hours of dry fasting is not a joke. So, were there any unhealed wounds, or sometimes like you felt like I need to change this, or you felt depressed, and sometimes did it happen, or staying in nature always helped you?
staying in nature always helped me. Definitely, I released my dreadlocks, which was another change.
I
You
miss
know,
them
I
already.
miss them too. I'm ready to grow them back, or at least long hair. But those are things are all external. Really, all the change happens within, of
Hmm.
course. And there were, it's really been surprisingly easy and effortless. And I, take this because to be the case because of previous discipline. Working for many years at this healing. Through fasting, sun gazing, meditation, qigong, you know, grounding, time in nature, plant work, working with herbalism, all these things has just been a slow, steady progression that, like, I feel, a lot of people will push too hard towards these states because they want to have that end result, but really the beauty is in the path
Hmm.
itself, and the unfolding of it. And it's been a wonderful path. It definitely has increased, I feel like, as I went, into deeper into the dry fasting and juicing, and just trying to see this, take a really good look at my reflection, and which ways am I, you know, I we all kind of think of ourselves as the good guy, and we're all doing our best, but we all promulgate, negative karmas through unhealthy thoughts, or just thoughts that aren't attended. I won't even say unhealthy, it's not bringing enough mindfulness, to our speech and our thoughts and our emotions, So uh, that's really been the thing. The really big reflection is this thing going on with my son, and I see that the causes and conditions that caused his, neurological uh, um, illness and some of the ways it comes out had to do with his own karmas and
Mm,
through just the chains of causation, you know. Um, but even still, as a parent, when your child is suffering, you just really want to look at every possibility in detail about what has gone on and what you could do about it, and it has awakened greater compassion, but also through a great deal of pain, you know. And this is true, I think, of everyone, depending on where you are with your path. It's like we really get our healing through going into these deeper places, and doing that self work. And wow, the birds sound beautiful there.
yes, yes. So those peacocks. Yeah,
Wow,
they're right
yeah.
beside me there. They're just flying. Peacocks.
That's super cool. Yeah. So, it's a mixed bag, this spiritual work, and we have to like recognize the highs and the lows as equally instructive and equally beneficial, and not uh, uh, you know uh, be averse or attached, to the positives or negatives, but just um, you work with what's presenting itself to us. So because it's something that's presenting itself for a healing benefit or for greater wisdom or understanding, and the fruition and ripening of karmas. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I forget what the question was at this point. I'm just rambling on.
No, 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 no. I really enjoy talking to this, because I've been thinking on the same grounds because sometimes I feel that in my journey I am passing through the same, because sometimes the stressful memories they just take over me. Sometimes I just felt them, and maybe I even felt that I had some unaddressed childhood trauma, or sometimes the deep sense of fear somewhere, in the journey. I've been encountering it inside me, or even those insecurities. So I've been thinking on these lines that once famously I have read that we are the ones the universe is looking for, and we are those ancestors. And as we heal ourselves, we heal our ancestors as well, and we heal the upcoming generations. So I was thinking when you're talking about your son in particular, on about this obsessive thinking, obsessive compulsive disorder sometimes. So I was thinking on how to encounter this unknown stress sometimes, or unknown trauma, which remains unaddressed, so, and open ourselves to the divine grace. This is what I've been working upon. Like sun gazing is my regular obsession. I've been, with this it started with all the HRM technique, and now I just gaze for 30 minutes or 35 minutes, depends upon how I feel, you know. And I've been concentrating on breath work a lot these days, with the chit shakti prakriya pranayama, which is some, deep breathing, like, and also with the bandhas, those locks, the anal lock, the chest lock, the throat lock, which are called as Jalandhar Bandha and Moola Bandha. These are the things which I've been working on. And, breathwork is one thing which is my devotion these days. And in addition to, this is a season of melons here, so I'm mostly living on watermelons and little bit of food. But I've been meditating a lot. But Jesse, I want to know about how should we address childhood trauma? You know, sometimes we encounter things which happen in our childhood, and they still have a dominion hold on us in our journey. So despite all the good things we are doing, sometimes they take over our consciousness. And when I remember what Robert Adams famously say, about the Advaita and stuff, the mind is an illusion and the consciousness is the reality. despite knowing that reality, despite knowing that the chatter of the mind is false, what are the special efforts which one should put on to overcome this trauma related to bullying sometimes, or maybe the accidents. No, the accidental trauma is one thing which few people may encounter because of the old accidents or the disabilities. Some people tend on to those, cling on to those insecurities which happen. So how can we address them in our pranic lifestyle?
That is like a super, super good question, super deep. I love the way you cut to the core with your bright mind, towards the pith of what all this spiritual work is about. Is not just showing up and meditating and sun gazing, but like how do we actually deal with these traumas? Because I think you hit on a really important point. Is there's sort of a collective karma, and collective trauma because of sort of like the dominant culture that has been created by I will call it the dominator culture, and this propensity to see ourselves from a young age as not being whole, complete, good enough, smart enough, fast enough, through this comparison, and through the enculturation to performance, and whether that's like your family wanting you to perform in a way that's aligned with their alignment with their values, instead of just honoring the natural being that you are and the gift and wisdom that you bring, coming out of the other dimensions into this one, and that whole thing of our our innate consciousness is really the pure gold, of creation. And so we have like all this, this these karmic defilements, that cause dukkha, cause suffering, that are sort of imprinted on us in our subconscious mind as young people, and this really forms like the basis of what we spend most of our adult life trying to address, so that we can get to our core happiness and core truth. And what really seems to me to be, the benefit of the practices of fasting and meditation and sun gazing and stuff is just to cultivate mindfulness and awareness, because a lot of these things are, I feel, transmuted through simply being with them, going through them, trying to be more in a state of observation, compassionate observation, than trying to affect any kind of change. That really, the presence of awareness itself is the transformative, transmutative, aspect. So if you're going through a moment of like, say, like in a relationship or like in a job setting or something, maybe you have a moment of anger flare up in you, to just try to pull back, and into that meditative state where you're not trying to react, but to respond, and to look at your own mind and see like why does, ask yourself these kinds of questions of like, why is this bothering me? Why, what is, because when something bothers you, it's usually a reflection of yourself, actually. There's something about that person, something they said, or something that's actually something inside of you in a way that you respond or react to things. So, just cultivating the awareness through the practices, and then in those moments, trying to remember. And if you can't and you get swept up by the emotions, let it happen and learn. There's this guy Shi Hen Yi, who's a kung fu monk, and he has this great thing with a mala. Here, let me take off my mala so I can show you this.
Wow, I love this, brother. Rudraksha.
Yes, I just got this, and it's so beautiful. I love Indian culture, and I'm
I'm
so glad to
I'm
receive it.
Oh, I'm trying to get one, brother. This is looks like a Panchamukhi Rudraksha, I guess, because in Rudrakshas there are many. There is a peanut shaped, pea cone shaped Ekamukhi Rudraksha, which means one faced. There are two faced, three faced Rudrakshas, which they call looks like a Panchamukhi, which means five faced one, which is really good for the energy cocoon and preserving your energy field within the biofields.
So that's, the big thing about these practices is basically localizing your energy more, being more in your heart, which is in the stillness place, in the place of compassion and courage, because it takes courage and takes compassion to look at
Hmm.
yourself and other people through this place of observation and trying to understand instead of seeking to be understood or to be, acknowledged, just trying to understand. But let me make this little metaphor for you real quick, in terms of like with the mala, like notice when you try to push something away, it ends up coming back towards you. And
Yes.
similarly, when you bring it towards you, eventually it goes farther away, you know. So try to, when we hook onto something, we try to bring it into our life. In a certain sense, we're actually pushing it away. And when there's
Okay.
something we don't want, and you try to push it away, you're actually bringing it
It
in
will come
closer.
back to us. Okay.
Yeah. So if you just leave it, just let it be, just let it sit
Hmm.
there, then it's, you have this proper relationship and distance from this emotional stimulation. And so
Fantastic.
that's what I've been working with. It's like sometimes I'm super successful with it, and sometimes I'm a horrible failure. You know, but it's not. That's the thing, is to like reconcile this idea of success and failure, or positive and negative. And it's like root chakra, crown chakra. It's all, you got to have it all to get to this center place and this balance place. So I mean, that's for what it's worth. That's 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 what I'm working with, currently.
This is really wonderful because I've been reading about the Divine Nutrition book from Just Muheen, the Food of Gods. That was the book which I was reading, and this Rudraksha really is taking me to the point which I have read. Uh, we try to be in those alpha and theta frequencies every day, but then again, when we have to be in the chaos, amidst all the chaos between the people, and how will you? The question always for me is, how can you preserve yourself uh, from the beta frequencies of the worldly things and also the radiation thing which is going on? So one thing is when we are connected to the spiritual dimensions, when we are accessing the spiritual dimensions, uh, these vibrations won't affect us much. So we move beyond those dimensions. Uh, so it really resonates with me because of all the things which the last time I was talking about EMFs with you when you're having a chat with Nabiha. So can you clarify us on how this process really happens? Because this is an energy cocoon which you are putting on, but have you clearly felt the biofield not being infiltrated by beta frequencies? This is one of the.
So there's twofold, in terms of like, on the one hand, there's the cultivation of your heart awareness, right?
Okay, on
So
point.
so if you get in, your heart is a singularity. It's the emanation point of your electromagnetic field, your biofield, and your you know sort of your energy frequency, right? And this is the truth of who we are, is our heart. We're heart beings first and foremost, and the heart has this electromagnetic field that's much stronger than what's in our head. And as you cultivate that vibration of love and courage and stillness and centeredness, and balance, then um, you increase your frequency such that these other fields will basically ping off your electromagnetic shield of yourself. You know, the
Okay.
other is avoidant. You know, trying to put the phone down. You know, trying to spend your time connected. You know, if you're barefoot on Mother Earth, then her giant electromagnetic frequency will support yours. You know, and help you stay strong against it. And you know, I really think I really enjoy being able to connect with you and Nabiha and many people all over the world through this device, but we could do it through our pineal gland. We could, if we really spent
Telepathic
if
communication.
we really spent more time connecting in with this device, you know, then we would be able to have these conversations, you know, in the astral dimensions,
In the
you know.
astral world.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be supporting these negative technologies in the control structure that goes with it. Every one of us who talks about how bad the technocracy is and etc., we're supporting it just by having a cell phone, you know. Um, so eventually, I feel personally that I'm going to need to abandon the cell phone, you know, and uh, put much more work towards, you know, I mean, the pranic life and living off of food, off, you know, the energies of creation is just like, it's one of the minor steady powers. It's really meant to relieve the yogi from having concern over the root chakra drive of continuance, you know, and realizing that you are an energy being and moving into the fact that you're an energy being, you know, and into your mind and your body is this crystal for uh, energy to flow through, you know, and that eventually the crystal can. I'm sure you've heard of this, like yogis and adepts who do rainbow body transformation and become light, you know, and you know what's left are like little gems, you know, and things like this, you know. Uh, I think that I was just hearing about this whole thing of involution versus evolution, that we were all spirit and consciousness before we were in, and for, you know, eons before we started to incarnate in physical material existence, you know. And so as we reconnect with the energy and truth of who we are, then our bodies our bodies are already made of light,
Yes, we are.
99% space, and the rest is just energy that's moving around, you
Mm.
know, and there's energy all around us. So it's this whole thing of like we have to read the manual, we have to like tap into our DNA and, you
Mhm.
know, focus on our own guides and source vibration, you know, to move into this, you know, and that it at its essence is love, you know, is understanding, is presence, you know, that through that we'll be able to move beyond all of the limitations of this dimension, you know,
Wonderful.
whether that's, you know, dirty EMF or, you know, any of it. Like we are so much beyond all of that. Each one of us are,
Hmm.
we are infinite beings of energy. So, of infinite energy. So,
It really, really. So we are infinite beings. We are infinite beings. That's the truth. We are from the infinity. But Jesse, one thing here. I was watching it. What is the difference between the crystals and Rudraksha? Because I see both of them as supportive systems to preserve our biofield. So, what role does these crystals play? And what are there any limitations of Rudraksha, or both are the same?
I think it's similar, but differing. You know, I mean, really, there's only a oneness here, right? So, the minerals and crystals of the earth, you know, can support our crystalline body, you know, the plant thing, plants are another form of crystallized fire from creation, you know, just in
Yes.
a different form, you know. So as is our bodies, as is the earth itself, it's all, you know, mostly carbon silica piezoelectric pyroelectric crystal, you know. So there's different crystals that will help people differently because of our unique, you know, doshic preponderances, you know, or amalgamations, you know, and our different astrological influences and the way we are all unique, you know, in this way, and have unique healing at different times in our life. But there's certain crystals like, you know, like black tourmaline that are also very good for protecting from EMF. You know, things people will wear quartz, but quartz is an amplifier. So if you have negative energies, you don't want it amplified. You know, um, so it's this thing, literacy in the benefits and healing properties of the different, you know, crystals and minerals and the different plants, you know, as and really your source guidance can help you with that. Like you can study a lot, but really you can just feel it too. You know, if you learn to trust your source guidance in a greater way, then it'll tell you. You know, so.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. It's always good to know. It's always good to explore new things, and I also seen you exploring Shaolin Qigong being taught by Mark English. Uh, how different is it, Shaolin Qigong to the regular one which you have been teaching us or which you have been practicing in your everyday life? Uh, is it the same thing as the lower Dantian, upper Dantian, and the middle Dantian? Is it the same thing, or are there any
I
other things like?
I find it to be more balanced. I find it to balance yin and yang more, where qigong is a little more yin, where you're just kind of collecting and absorbing energy, the way you know the Janjango is taught. But with this Shaolin qigong, you purposefully raise the energy. You know, you squeeze your perineum. You know, you bring in rather than opening your diaphragm. You bring it in. You open up your chest and you bring it up. You know, and then
The
you
chi.
relax it down. Yeah, the chi. You bring it up, and then you relax it down, and you bring it up, and you relax it down. And so this is like, you know, this also goes into the way the microcosmic orbit works and the actual fluid of the cerebral spinal fluid, you know, is that it circulates up and down, you know,
Hmm.
uh, the Kundalini energy going up the Ida and Pingala channels, you know, if you and there's like a positive, I think it's a positive charge up here and a negative charge down there. So you know, you're trying to like hit. It's the same thing we are talking about with respect to, you know, the highs and lows of life, or you know the challenges. You know, it's like you want to be able to do the full circuit, you know, and go up and down and back and forth, and you know, good and bad and yin and yang, and you know, the full acceptance of all of this is where you start to like integrate and you know come into your complete, you know, full potential, you know, as you know, as a god essentially. You know your god consciousness uh, in a human body, trying to
Yes.
sort out this uh, situation which is confused by the five senses, you know, of you know touch, taste, smell, sight, you know, hearing, when really when we can direct our awareness into our inner senses and start to just like develop this, you know, allowing of all the different things, that we start to see that the good and bad don't affect us, you know, that positive and negative are part of our attribute, you know, and that we can grow into this more whole version of ourselves, which is
This is really fantastic because I've been practicing my breath work this by performing these analogs, the analogs, the root lock, which you can also call it as, and also the throat lock. Also even I meant, I take the deep breathing with my stomach and lock it a while, which are also called as the bandhas, or these locks, which in yoga, this I've seen it in yoga, and so in Shaolin Qigong resonates a lot with me now as you're explaining this. Wonderful. I think I need to explore it. But again, I've seen you studying Kriya Yoga as well. So there are various forms of yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga. Uh, Kriya Yoga is one of them. Surya Yoga, Surya Tratak is one of them, which we are doing. So, uh, what have you learned and what inspired you the most in the autobiography of a yogi, Paramahamsa Yogananda?
Oh, that's just amazing. That's an amazing book. I mean, really, I loved his account of his experience in cosmic consciousness, as his as his master is his guru is teaching him to fast, to meditate, to if, he's talking about how there's a lot of information in there about there's a couple two different people, two different saints that live without food that he meets. He's talking a lot about how the nervous system is the energy system of the body, that the I think he calls them the what does he call them, like he doesn't call it biophotons, but basically the electricity, I think he calls them like lifetrons or something like that. That this all moves through the nervous system. You have to strengthen the nervous system and develop the nervous system for this electricity of God consciousness to come through you. And he's meditating one day, and his guru's like, "Oh, you're meditating like leaves being blown around in the wind." And he just taps him on his heart, and he explodes into this like experience of cosmic consciousness, where he's everything. He's like the people walking in the street. He's like galaxies. He's volcanic explosions and like war and good and bad, and all of it is all of it, all encompassing, and it's like this pure ecstatic bliss. So I mean, just the way he uh, you know elucidates what that experience was for him just rings so true with my own experiences and my own feelings, you know. And then hearing also of all these accounts of just his concentration on uh, God, if you will. I hesitate a little with that word, but it's this whole thing of we are all a piece of God. We're all connected to God, and that he's talking to these saints from all different disciplines or religions, from all over the world, and wonderful people, and all these faith healings, people who like there was one story that made me think of my son, because his son is going through this terrible illness, and the father basically says, prays deeply, like, if I could just go through this instead of him, if I could take his place. And it happens, and his son gets better, and he takes his place, and he gets ill and dies. That's not I think the cosmic consciousness will grant us whatever we want. So I'm just praying for my son's wellness. I don't want to take his place. I just want his relief. And the relief, and release of all beings, the liberation of all beings is what I pray for every day. And with respect to the yogas and the different practices, my favorite is the Vajra Tantra, of Tibetan
Radha Tantra?
Vajra Vajra
Vajra.
Yogini Tantra.
Okay.
That it's part of the lineage from Marpa and Naropa and Milarepa, of this realization that you are your heart, that your heart is the emanation of the God source, and it takes the form of this, female Dakini, Vajra Yogini, um, and that is like, uh, part alluring and part wrathful, you know, that you have a protection of your heart. And the thing with the Vajra, like the Vajra scepter, is like the indestructible diamond center. Your lightning, your thunderbolt of heart energy.
Yes, yes, the heart chakra meditation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I explore with all these meditations, but the number one of all is this focusing on our heart as our essence of love, courage, compassion, wisdom. You know, all of it is there. You know, so
Where did you learn this meditation, brother? Because it sounded interesting as I have been exploring the heart chakra meditation myself. So, where did you learn this meditation?
I wish I had gotten transmission from a guru, but I just I read it. I've read the 10,000 Songs of Milarepa. I'm on my ninth read of it, you know, and that's where I found some of the most profound truths that resonate with my heart. And then I read a book on Vajrayogini Tantra, and meditative techniques. It's pretty straightforward, really. You meditate, you breathe, and you focus your awareness on your heart, and that your heart is this place that is of the greatest wisdom. I like to work with the microcosmic orbit because you have like the wisdom of your gut and the wisdom of your crown, um, but it all centers around the heart. You go through the
Yes,
heart too, and it's like connecting with all these parts of your mind, the nexus and ganglion and all the chakra points. But this is where it all happens. In Chinese traditional medicine, they say the heart is the emperor. You know,
yes.
uh, so yeah.
Can you can you elaborate on the microcosmic orbit meditation? Because this always remains one of my favorite because I keep connected myself to the trees actually to charge my chi, and I feel that trees are live crystals always, which enhances our biofield. But just to know more about, because microcosmic orbit meditation, this is what I've been interested to learn more about. Can you can you elaborate on the orbits where they're exactly protected? Because we all know about the seven chakras, but I've seen Eddie Tom once doing a guided meditation on microcosmic orbit once, as you've done before. So, how many are there in addition to the crown, in addition to the throat, in addition to the anahata? The sahasra, in addition to the heart, and Mula, Sadara, Swadhisthana, and Manipuraka. So, how many more nadis are there in addition to this to form the circle behind?
I'll be glad to answer this question, but since I just broke my dry fast, I really have to go to the bathroom. So can you hold on for me for
Yes,
one
yes,
sec?
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes. Please, please,
I'll be
please,
right
please.
back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wonderful. This uh, no, I can really listen to Jesse talk every day. You know, I can just continue to listen to him all day. Uh, Wonderful to talk to him because I'm just a spiritual enthusiast, trying to learn from each and everyone I encounter in my life because the only motto in my life is being open to learning, you know. So uh, always, even always try to learn from life, try to learn from people, try to learn from nature, more, and lucky that I'm practicing this meditations and also the breath work these days. These days, I'm more into Michael Biker's Breath is Life meditation, Breath is Life course. I've been finishing it off and aiming to learn the breathwork instructor course from him. This is what I'm looking for. Sun gazing is my, and grounding in particular. This is my regular practice always, in addition to the fruitarianism. But these days, I'm trying to finish off the wisdom from Hilton Hotema. Those books, what I am looking forward to. Oh, Jesse's back.
Thank
Yes,
you
brother.
for your patience. Little moment of honesty. I
Yeah,
drink
yeah,
about a
yeah.
gallon when I break my dry fast. So
So, is that the only thing you have? 1 gallon of juice every day?
a little more than gallon. I'll sometimes have some seaweed or a little bit of lettuce. Lettuce is
Uh-huh.
mostly water, but I've noticed that more as I've been dealing with the stresses of I've been last summer I wasn't taking that, going on with my son. I found myself having some more, to be transparent and authentic, that that that's what it's been. And so I feel like as the summer's coming back on again, I want to go deeper again, you know. Um, so I'd like to start in this next year doing 48-hour dry fast once a week, and continuing my 23. Um, so so that's the way I've been doing it all along, is just slowly, gently, as I'm guided to from inside, um, with the practice of fasting and dry fasting and juicing and all that. Just opening it up little by little, you know. But to get back to your question about the microcosmic orbit, and I really think it's apropos that you mention your tree meditation, because I feel like the tree and us and everything in creation has these like electromagnetic fields, and the tree is like a giant cell tower of love. It has this huge field, and it's a reflection directly of our body. The root, the trunk, and the branching of your crown, and the
Yes.
way the toroidal field, you know, goes. So, but with respect to the point of the microcosmic orbit, you start with your dantian, a couple inches below your navel, and this is more connected actually with your glands and than it is, and energy centers, but not so much with the chakra centers, right?
Oh,
Because they're two different. There's stuff that has been taken that is similar, because of the movement of Buddhism essentially into the China and Japan and stuff, but they already had the Taoist tradition that they had developed, and so a lot of the Buddhism from China and Japan is this uh, well, not so much Japan, but China is the blending of Taoism and Buddhism. So the Taoist masters also they developed what they call the Bigu state, which is the state of no illness, not eating, long life, etc. So it's that whole thing of like in India they had this understanding of prana, and the word chi and prana are the same thing.
same, same.
The breath of life, the breath of life it means, right? Um, so, anyways, with the microcosmic orbit, this was developed by the Taoist masters, and so it starts with the dantian a couple inches below the navel, and then the next point down is uh, your genitals, and then the next point is your perineum, and then the next
Perineum?
point, perineum, the
Perineum, okay.
place between
Yes, yeah.
your
The
genitals and your anus.
anus, yes.
Hmm. And then the next point is your coccyx, your tailbone, you know. And then the next point is your tailbone. Right at the end of your tailbone is another energy center. And then right in between your kidneys is a point. And then right between your shoulder blades, and then the base of your skull, where your spine meets your skull, your fontanelle, you know, this place that was open when you were a baby. You know, this
Yes,
is
Brahmanadi,
actually
Brahmarandra.
your perineum, and your fontanelle is where the cosmic chi comes from, and your
Yes.
perineum is where the earth chi comes up into. You know, and so that's your root and your branches. And then the next point is your third eye, you know, and then your throat chakra, and then your heart chakra, and then your solar plexus. And so you meditate and you just focus on each place, and then you start to breathe in, like with your focus going to each place, up and down, and up and down with a breath. So you breathe in, and it comes up, and then you let it come down. You know, and so it's this purposefully, moving the chi, and it actually moves, and the cerebrospinal fluid actually moves like a pump with the in breath and the out breath. And so it's flowing up the back and around the front in the macrocosmic orbit.
Oh,
Mantak Chia teaches it a little differently. And Mantak Chia,
Mantakshya, yeah.
he's really great. For me, it's too much visualization. It scrambles my brain, And this is what Eli Tom taught me, and I've seen also in books I've read about Qigong and Taoist alchemy. Is just so. This is the fire. If you go in this direction, up the back and around the front, that's the way to increase fire chi. If you want to, which is like your energy, your excitement, your passion, etc. If you want to calm your mind and cool your mind, you go the opposite direction, which is the water path of chi. So you go up into your heart, to your throat, pineal gland, and then back down the bottom. And that's so. If you have too much passion, too much excitement, you do the water chi path. And if you need to increase your energy and increase your passion, you do the fire path. So there's the two different flows of qi in the qigong of the microcosmic orbit.
This is really, I mean, the more I'm knowing more about this, willing to explore more into this because I see there are some similarities between what Eltom has taught and what Mantakchi has taught, and even what now Mark English is teaching, the ESO. So, ESO's Qigong is also more about this, this orbit again, which we were talking earlier. So, are there any differences between these three practices, and what remains your favorite, or what is resonating with you these days?
I really like the Shaolin Qigong for my Qigong practice, and I'm haven't Mark gave me a wonderful transmission directly to me. Thank you, Mark. Love you, brother. With the John Django Qigong I've been doing for years, but he also taught me the muscle tendon changing technique. But I haven't been able to practice it because I'm still like the John Django is the one I know, and I just add this yang breath, and where you're bringing the energy up and you're squeezing your perineum and you're pulling the energy up, and then you go into the same forms for the John Django Qigong. So I really enjoy that for Qigong.
Okay.
But, and I really like the microcosmic orbit, and I do that every day, twice a day. And I really love the heart center. So I'll do the microcosmic orbit, and then when I'm done, I'll just like rest in awareness in my heart for a while. So really I've created for myself something that is a a blend of things. And what it seems to me to be most important is that you find something you resonate with and you do it consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not necessarily this one's good and this one's bad and this one's higher, this one's lower. What's important is that you find, some form of yoga, some form of meditation. If you're interested in qigong, some form that resonates with you that you can do easily. You can always adapt, change, try other things. You know, um, but that's more important that you do it consistently and that it resonates.
It resonates. It resonates actually. So a question related to this now, because of this interesting point which you said is what resonates with you. So, can qigong be a substitute to Ashtanga yoga then?
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a thing of uh, I don't know. I mean, I really just kind of feel from the inside out what like I was saying, resonate. What seems to be really working for me. So I don't have partiality, to any technique. It's more about the results I'm getting. You know. So I think you know uh, the wisdom of the ancients, like from all over the world. I'm just open to any of that wisdom, and exploring with it because the ancients knew in a much deeper way about our bodies and our consciousness than we do now. There's been a forgetting, and so uh, I, but I've long resonated with Taoism and Shaolin and just Buddhism in general. I'm really into Indian and Tibetan Buddhism, but by extension, I'm interested in Chinese, and Zen, you know, um, and Shaolin. Uh, so I don't know. I don't know really how to answer that except for that. Yeah, it's like it's. I find the Shaolin Qigong to be like the next level of Qigong. There's, I read this great book about it, and it depends on the practitioner, and what your goals are, you know, and uh, and just uh, the Shaolin style of Qigong is more concerned with physical, like stamina, and a little bit more yang, you know. But there is Qigong that is more, aligned with my Buddhist heart, which is just to develop spiritual consciousness, you know. So I oscillate, I go back and forth, and I like that, as, you know, compared to some of the yogas, they're more, um, there's a lot of specificity in a lot of the different kinds of yogas, you know, uh, and I'm kind of, I'm interested in them in developing, generally speaking, my body and my spirit simultaneously, you know.
Hmm.
So
Wonderful. Yeah. So it's because this question came out of my soul, in fact, because of my practices which I've been doing, and then again coming through various things. So I thought whether this is really a substitute for it, or, but yes, whatever you said. So, but of all that spiritual journey, it's always great to talk to you, know more about each and everything you're exploring. What is the pivotal thing that you have learned in your spiritual life?
what is the what thing?
Pivotal thing. I mean, the most important thing which you have learned, pivotal. So,
Compassion. It's like, I really resonate with the Buddhist thing of like all these, city powers of being able to live without food or fly or bilocate, or like there's all these things that I really believe we can do, and they're really fantastic and neat. But the greatest trick of all is just to be a compassionate, loving person. You know, seems like the silliest, most small thing, but it really
Yeah.
takes the most amount of, you know, consciousness and has the greatest effect in the universe is to develop, you know, a loving heart, a loving mind, you know, in every, just in a continuous flow, you know. So that's my main goal.
I can see the impact of how much impact Buddha had on your life, and even Buddha Samhita, reading Buddha Samhita, maybe I can clearly see that because I've been always watching, reading some extracts from that Buddha, and he said that compassion is the most important thing because uh, giving is living, giving and living, giving is living, and understanding what the other needs from you. You can, as you become the highest epitome of spirituality, you can just quench the thirst of all the souls who are within your, bandwidth. So, um, but
We are all
the im-
one.
we are all one. Yes, we are all one.
Well, if we can just extend love to others, you're extending love to yourself, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
but here comes one of the important questions. Is uh, forgiveness is one thing, the most important thing which I've been, which I am contemplating upon. So, how to forgive the self? I mean, it's a very deep topic. The more I'm exploring it, I see that sometimes it becomes tough. Sometimes it tends to be easy as we realize that we are the souls. You know, we are the eternal souls. So we all, there is the collective karma of the soul. Uh, and before coming into the spiritual life, we all have committed some sort of sins. So, but we can see the impact of them in our spiritual life still, as sometimes we can't pick up the pace and we find out that all those past karmas are just pulling you behind. So, how to heal by self forgiving and forgiving the others? Uh, this is what I want to hear from you.
Well, I think it comes naturally when you bring like the presence of awareness, you know, like Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, you know, um, maybe if uh, someone is angry with you or you're angry with them, that's even the harder place, right? Um, telling them, you know, I'm suffering, you know, forgive me, I'm suffering, you know, um, and this is why I'm suffering, you know. Or if someone is in pain, usually when someone is, angry is like the guardian of sad, you know. And so if we can just be in presence with someone who's suffering in pain or in anger, you know, um, being with that energy, if we can really just be with it, what you see is suffering, and out of suffering is naturally born compassion. You, you know, you have compassion for that being who is suffering. You know, and if you are suffering from anger, or sadness, then that is another opportunity to understand that all beings suffer. You know, and what's born naturally out of that is forgiveness. And compassion. So it's this energy of presence, of awareness, that brings the natural, spontaneous arising of forgiveness and compassion. It's not something. There's not a technique. There's not a trick. You know, the 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 trick is really just to uh, be in deep awareness. Of. And I remember having this experience early in my days exploring with vision medicine with psilocybin. Of basically, I was with my best friend, and he was like, the grass is asking me to get off of it. It hurts, you know. And I was like, whoa, yeah, and I had this very profound sense of like the suffering that all creation is going through. And it was a very hard realization, but it was also very beautiful. And that I understood immediately that we are all connected, that every being suffers, and that through that suffering, that is the reason for compassion. That's what causes compassion to come into being. It unites us. The suffering unites us. That to not push away from suffering, but to accept its existence, so that we can come into a greater state of compassion, you know, and loving kindness towards all beings, because they suffer. So why would we increase suffering? It's going to increase our suffering and their suffering. You know, why we should just seek to relieve suffering everywhere we can through loving kindness, and that's like the remedy. So forgiveness of yourself. I've been dealing with this with stuff with my son, because I didn't recognize, his neurological diseases when he was young. I felt he was like just a normal kid, and I couldn't understand, you know, why he would behave in certain ways. And through my not being understanding, I probably made his suffering worse, you know. And so, now that he is like suffering in this really profound way, it's, causes me to look more deeply and to see the ways in which I was flawed, and the ways in which and I'm not hard on myself. I couldn't have known better, I wish I could have, but it's a fruitless wish, you know, which, but what it can do is help me bring more energy of awareness to where I'm in presently, in all my other in my relationship with him now. How can I relieve his suffering? By being more aware of, so I'm studying about neurology and OCD and all these things that he's, dealing with Tourette's and stuff, and how it can be remedied. And, you know, um, it gives me more energy to bring toward helping him heal, and trying to raise awareness with other people, because OCD is like it's the seventh most debilitating illness, and it's really, there's a lot of people that suffer from OCD.
OCD,
There's
yeah.
a lot of people that suffer with neurological issues, things with autism due to glyphosate in the system, and etc. Bringing more awareness to the public about the dangers of glyphosate, about the dangers of EMF, and social media, and ways in which we can transmute, through spending more time in nature, by connecting in with our own self, uh, by connecting in with healing modalities, by developing our awareness and studying, and and that's the way we're going to be able to transmute all these things. We're all endowed with infinite intelligence and infinite energy, but sometimes you need a catalyst that will, bring your awareness more sharply and in a more focused way towards what needs to be done. And so in a way, all the things that are showing up in the world, COVID, the electromagnetic pollution, the pollution of the environment. These are all like painful awakening, but that that can also be our what gives us energy to really focus on how we're going to relieve the suffering in the world, and really change, our selves and our culture to be more loving, more connected, more aware of what we each individually and collectively need, and that nature needs, from our loving attention. So, um,
It is true, brother. sometimes I feel that the karmic cleanse is needed in these aspects. Maybe, like the collective karma sometimes catches up, and we never know what karma we have performed. The previous memories embedded inside the DNA sometimes haunts us. That is why I was willing to talk about the ancestral healing a bit with you.
Mhm.
So, have you ever felt that he needed this sort of ancestral healing or some other unaddressed trauma, or maybe
Well,
that he needs some karmic cleanse?
absolutely. I mean, I can tell you, so a little window into my uh, more personal inner world. So my grandfather, you know, um, he ran away from home to join the circus, because he wanted to be like this playful, guy. But he ended up being, and that generation in the 50s, and stuff, there was a very heavy, in America, a very heavy misogynist bent. There was a very, the man was the ruler of the house. A lot of people, a lot of those men drank, a lot of them abused their families. You know, I never saw my grandfather take even one sip of alcohol, but he was really, really tough on my dad. You know, my dad had a lot of loving kindness towards me, but he made emotional and physical distance from me because after talking with him, and now that we've kind of healed some of our wounds, um, that I could tell he didn't want to perpetrate on me the damage that his dad had perpetrated on him, you know. And similarly, then I tried to pull my boys in, because I had this distance, but there was still like, in my DNA, sort of this aggression of my grandfather, you know, um, that when the boys were out of, I remember my dad, back in those days, like if you were out of line, your father would spank you. He'd physically abuse you, you know, which is now we know more thoroughly that's not the way, But I think a lot of people grew up with this across the world. Like when you were out of line, a kid out of line just needed a beating, you know. But that's not the way to transmute, and heal. Really, it perpetrates more violence, more lack of self-forgiveness, shame, all kinds of things, you know. And so, you know, um, we practice not striking the kid, but I still had this energy in me of like, he's out of line, he needs to be corrected, you know. Um, so, I wish I would have known, and I knew about Buddhism. I was practicing all of that, um, but I didn't have enough awareness as a young person to bring the kind of energy I would now, and and so that I feel like my kids are pretty well adjusted. They're loving, kind, smart guys and everything like that. But it's not about that. It's about clearing up, like you've been talking about. How do we like heal these traumatic, karmic things that are being passed on generation to generation, and we have to heal it within ourselves as best we can. And the more we heal it in ourselves, the more we'll heal it, to our ancestors and to our progeny, you know. Um, and even, now, like I, beg forgiveness for my sons for things I can't even know if there were things that, like they always tell me like, no, 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 you were good, but I know from the amount of awareness and self-work that I've done that there's places where I screwed up, and that's okay, it's okay that we screw up. That's fine. But, and that's part of that process of that forgiveness, and starting to just develop greater awareness and try to teach others. That would be one thing I would say to other fathers and stuff out there. And I was just thinking about this today because my early life, I really wanted to just be like a Buddha, a forest yogi. I'm still trying to live that out as a householder. You know,
That remains my
and
fantasy.
that really you know, this self-development before you become a parent, you know, it's very important that you do as much work possible on your self-development and your self-understanding, you know, and really cultivate your ability to be loving and kind and as understanding as possible as you go into fatherhood and parenthood, because there's a responsibility you have that is greater than, you know, your responsibility as a person. It's not greater. You still have to be responsible for your energy and for your thoughts and, you know, your actions. But when you're a parent, those children see you as a god, and they're going to model everything you do, you know. And there's just so much work to be done in this realm. There's so much with every one of us. We're all good people here. We all were born into this system that is like a trauma machine, you know. And so we're all doing our best to try to like work with these energies. But you know, I see that it is changing. There's a lot of, you know, so many people that are starting to get, and there's also as much confusion out there. You know, there's like, you know, it's the best of times, worst of times. There's a lot of good, a lot of people working toward it, and that narrative isn't talked about enough, you know. But there's also this, and there is this narrative of all the craziness that's out there. But it you know, the pendulum swings both ways. The spectrum is it's same extreme in both aspects. There's so much good going on, and the more we can focus on that and bring our awareness to that, the more it's going to swing the center more towards that, you know. So I don't know. I could go on and on. I have to wrap
Yes,
up
yes,
pretty
yes.
soon.
Yes, yes, brother. It's been, you know, I can listen to you the whole day, you know. It's like that with you. It's very addictive to talk to you always, sometimes, you know, to listen to you. I listened to many of your old videos and just, you know, tap into the wisdom sharings which you gave us, which you gave to the Prana Sangha, which you gave to humanity as a whole. But I hope it's not over. I wish to catch up with you for many more talks
Oh,
soon, you know.
definitely. Definitely. I love
And
talking with you, Ravi. I appreciate your spirit. I appreciate our connection. And you bring some of this out of me, you know. It's like it's 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 like therapy for me to be able to share, you know, with other, you know, people who have a similar heart, who are seeking the same, you know, healing. Um, you know, that it's very much a benefit to me too. Very much.
uh, thanks a lot, Jesse. Thanks a lot. I value this a lot. You know, I don't want to just say small thanks for this because it contributes a lot to many. I'm really thankful for the grace of God, for your friendship, for uh, it's it's more that I take you as a teacher, one of my virtual teachers. You know, uh, thanks for that. Thanks for being a elder brother to me, whom is like an elder brother whom I never had. In fact,
My
hope to
great
catch up maybe
my
very.
great pleasure, Ravi.
Thank you.
My great pleasure.
This time I want to talk more about human resonance and the frequencies of the earth and the meditative frequencies which we can attain to balance those things like that. I plan them for the next talk, hopefully in a week or whenever you feel free to talk.
Yeah,
I'll catch up with you soon.
we could try for next week. Let's try for
Oh,
Sunday.
that sounds wonderful, brother. That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. We'll be in touch.
Namaste. Have a wonderful day, brother.
You too, brother. Much love. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Namaste.
Be
Namaste.
well. Namaste.
Namaste.